channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this jumpsuit. Someone sent it to me on Instagram. So what you're going to need here, this is an halter neck jumpsuit with drawstring at the waist and then a loose very loose palazzo pant at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is to start with the pant. So I'm going to be cutting it on this pattern paper first. So the pants, what you're going to do is measure around your hip, divide it by 4, and you can add extra 4 inches to it. That 4 inches is for your seam allowance and also for the room, because as you can see, this is like it has extra fabric, oversized, almost very loose fitting jumpsuit. So I'm using extra 4 inches, that's including my seam allowance for this. So what you're going to do, I would assume that the hip measurement I'm working with is like 40, divided by 4 is going to be 10. So I'm going to add extra 4 to it, and then I'm going to start drawing that in. So guys, the first thing I did here is just to take my hip measurement divided by 4. So I'm saying that the hip I'm working with is 40, divided by 4 is 10, plus extra 4 inches, that's going to be 14. So you see my tape here is starting from this part here all the way to this end is 14 inches. So I marked a straight line. So this is going to be my hip. So here is my waist. So down from my waist to my hip is 10 inches. So I came down 10 inches and then I placed my tape this way and inserted the waist, the hip measurement I'm supposed to use, which is my hip measurement divided by 4 plus extra 4 inches, which is for the room and ease and also seam allowance. So this is it here. And then also the same 14 inches I got here is what I placed on the hip too. So the waist and the hip, they are the same, because remember, this is not going to have any dart. It's just going to be gathered at the waist because I'm going to be using drawstring at the waist. So I have to make sure that all of them are exact measurements. So I've made sure that the 14 inches is here, and then so now I'm going to draw this 14 inches line all the way, because the distance of my hip measurement here is that 14, the waist here is also that 14. So now that I have this line, I'm going to draw a straight line all the way down. So guys, now that I've marked this here, this line here is going to be where I will insert I need to find my crutch line. So my crutch is at 12 inches, but because this is going to be a jumpsuit, I'm going to drop it by 1 inch. If you want, you can even drop yours by 1.5. So I'm going to use like 1.5 inches here. I'm going to drop it there, and then I'm going to extend this line all the way like this. So guys, this is my crutch, this is the hip, this is the waist. So now how I'm going to find the extension for this crutch here is my hip measurement. My hip divided by 4 is 10. My hip is 40, divided by 4 is 10. Then that 10 that I got, I'm going to divide it by 4 again. So 10 divided by 4, that's going to be 2.5. So the extension of my crutch here is going to be 2.5. So I'm going to just mark 2.5 all the way from this point here, and I'm going to extend it. So guys, this is the 2.5 here. So you're going to mark it right from where this line is and extend it. So basically how you're going to get this line is your hip measurement, your normal round hip measurement, divided by 4. Whatever you got, divide it by 4 again. So that's how you're going to get what will be here. And then after that, you're going to just give it a curve like this. Right, so this is now my crutch here, and then the next thing to do now is just to go ahead and extend this line all the way down. Extend this line all the way down. So guys, this is basically it for our front pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead, cut this out like this, and then with this front pattern we'll trace our back panel. My front panel, I've placed it on my back panel. So to cut my back panel, all I have to do is to place my fabric this way, and then I'm going to make sure that I have enough fabric at the top here, and that the amount of fabric I'll have here is exactly what I have at this point. So this measurement from here to here, which was 2.5 for me, I'm going to make sure that I have that 2.5 at the top of this fabric here. So if it's 3 inches that you have here, make sure you have like that 3 inches on top of here, because this is where my front panel stops. This is the because your back has to be longer than your front, because of the butt at the back. So I'm going to make sure that I have that 2.5 at the top here. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to extend the back by about 2.5 inches here, or if you are more on the bigger side, okay, I'm just going to use 2.5 here for mine, but if you are more on the bigger side, you can also do 3 inches, but I'm going to use 2.5 here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is on this part here, right, mark 2 inches here. So I'm going to connect where my 2 inches is here all the way to the top here. to this straight line here. So this is it here. So I've subtracted 2 inches from where my front, so you see this is where my front panel starts. So I marked 2 inches distance from here to here, and then I transferred it on my back panel. So I've taken away 2 inches from my back panel, the top part here. That 2 inches I took out, I'm going to come in here and add it back. So now it's exactly the same again. So you see, I've added back my 2 inches. So now the next thing I have to do is to make sure and do it on a straight line, right? So now I'm going to take that waist measurement that I have here, which is 14, and then I'm going to extend it like this on an angle like this, and I'm going to make sure that that 14 inches also fits in here. So I'm going to just go ahead and put it back like this. So guys, now that I've marked it like this, so this is going to be my back panel. I'm almost done with my back panel. So the next change here is just that you come down to your hip measurement, add about 1 inch or 1.5 here, and then go down, add it again all the way down like this, and then add it all the way down to the end of the pant, all the way down. And then you're going to go ahead and connect the line. So you're going to connect it from your waist to your because this is my waist at the back. I'm going to connect it all the way down to this point, all the way down like this in a straight line. Now from here it goes down in a straight line. So guys, I've marked this down. So now we are going to come back to the crotch part. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is just to connect this part here. You see, I've removed, this is the crotch here. So now I'm going to make a new crotch for the part. You can use like a curve ruler, and then you're going to just extend it all the way and give it like a curve here, because this is going to be my new crotch for the back. So all I have to do now is to just cut it straight all the way down like this in a straight line. So I'm going to follow this way, cut this down in a straight line to the end, like follow the same line of my crotch all the way down, and then up here cut it this direction, come down here, follow this line, cut it all the way down. So it depends on you, the length of the pant you want, whatever the length is. So you're going to measure right from the waist down to the end of the pant, and then you're going to cut that out. So once you cut it, you're going to cut it out, and also make sure to add the seam allowance to fold the end. So you might want to add about 2 inches so that you can use 1.5 to fold the end of the pants, and then use half an inch to join it to the waist of the top. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut the back panel so we can move over to the front. So guys, now you see we have our back panel, we have our front panel. So that's basically how you're going to cut this. You see, and then you can maintain the length you want to use for yours. So this is it here. So this is the two of them. You're going to make sure you have 2 front panel, 2 back panel. So you're going to cut 2 of this here and 2 of this here. And guys, remember this, your fabric has to be like a light fabric that can drape easily. Because if you look at the picture, you find that it's not like Akara fabric that they use. It's like a lighter fabric. Not that you cannot use Akara fabric. I'm just saying that if you want to get exactly the one on the picture, then you have to use like the kind of fabric that they also use. So that's basically it. So now we'll move over to cutting the halter top. To cut the top, all we have to do is you're going to get your fabric. The width of your fabric is going to be about the same measurement you use at the waist of your pants, which is your hip measurement divided by 4 plus whatever amount that you use. If it's like your hip measurement divided by 4 plus extra, because I remember I used my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 4. 4 is going to be the excess fabric inside of it plus my seam allowance. If it's plus 5 that you use, whatever you use, that's going to be the width of your cloth, because your cloth will not be the width of your cloth cannot be your bust. It has to be the width of the bottom part that you were using before. So for me, that's 14. So I transferred that 14 here. And then the length I have here is just my shoulder to waist plus 1 inch. My shoulder to waist is 16 plus 1 is 17. If you want your top, like you're using a loose fabric and you want it to drape, like hang over, you know how you pull the drawstring and then it's like as if the top part is hanging over, you can add extra 1 inch to it if you want it to look that way, or you can just use the exact measurement and then just use 1 inch of your seam allowance. So now what you're going to do is to start inserting your measurement. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 8 inches. I'm going to go ahead, mark that here, and then that's 16 inches divided by 2, that's 8. Come down here, put in my armhole. So like this, my armhole I'm working with is 20 divided by 2 is going to be 10. And then I'm going to connect it this way. And then the next thing you're going to do is to come in here, mark your slope. Just put in your normal basic bodies I'm going to also mark 3 inches here. We are starting with the front panel, right? I marked 1 inch down to my shoulder slope and then connected it. This will not matter. I'm just trying to show you guys. Put in your 3 inches of neckline. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to put in my bust measurement on this. My chest line is about, the bust is 38 divided by 4 is going to be 9.5. But I'm going to add extra 1 inch to it for seam allowance on the side, right? I didn't add seam allowance at the waist because the waist already, the seam allowance will come in with the extra 4 inches, right? So now it's like 10.5. I'm going to add half an inch for ease because I want it a little bit loose at the bust area too. So in total, I have about my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 here. So that's going to be 11 in total for me. I'm going to mark it here. As you can see now, mine is angling this way, right? Normally when we draw our bodies, it goes like this, right? It goes something like this, and then we have our dart, right? But for this one here, since it's going to be a drawstring, our waist is going this direction, and that doesn't matter because once you put in that your drawstring, it's going to pull the whole waist together. You don't worry if your fabric is going out this way because there'll still be drawstring at the waist. This is just because it's not going to have zip, so you need for the waist to be wide enough to fit in, because you're going to be pulling the trouser up, right? You're going to be pulling the jumpsuit all the way up. So you need for this here space here to be able, for your waist, your hip to be able to go through the waist to get to the hip part, right? Because this two is going to be together like this, right? It's going to be together. This is where it starts, right? This is where it starts. So you when you're pulling it up, you want your waist to be able to pass through this, because these two parts here will meet together. This part will be joined together. So you want to be able to pass through here to get to your hip, because most times your hip is the widest part of your body. So that's why it doesn't matter that this part is going here, because in between these two lines, that's where your drawstring will come. So it will still help you pull it together. It won't matter. So now we're going to go ahead and put in the halter neck that we're talking about. So to put in the halter neck, what we need to do now is, remember, your shoulder to your collarbone is about, most times it's like 4 inches down. If you want, you can measure yours now and find where your collarbone is. So, and that's where this halter neck is going to start, right at your collarbone. So for me, it's from the shoulder to this point here, like 4 inches or so down. So you see, I've marked that here. And then on this line, you're going to extend it out. So if you want, you can extend it this way. You can extend it by 4 inches. Or you can extend it by just the same 3 inches of neckline. It depends on you. Or you can do 3.5. And then you're going to mark it and connect it this way. So now you're going to connect it this way. But remember, this here needs casing. You need casing for this, because although your halter neck is starting here, but you still need that casing for the rope, because there's a rope passing through it that will help you gather this part of the neckline. So you need extra like 2 inches going up. That's why I drew in all this top part, so that you can know that, so that you have to put in the whole pattern. So you need like 2 inches, so that when you go to fold it, you can just fold it this way. Or before you start cutting your fabric, you can just go ahead and fold your casing. So I'm going to show you guys. So let's say you need 2 inches to be at the top of your casing, right? So I'm going to cut this part out now. So guys, you see, I've removed this part so that I will not confuse you guys. So basically, when you go to draw your pattern, you can just start by folding the casing for your neckline away. So you can fold away like 1 inch or 1.5. No, 1.5, not 1 inch, sorry. Fold in 1.5 away like that, and then you can start drawing in your bodies. So you come in here by 3.5, and then you connect it this way into your armhole, right? And then that way you know that this casing here, you will still use this here to fold the neckline. So you're still going to fold the edge here, and then your rope will pass inside of this line here. So that's basically how you're going to do this. So at this point now, I'll go ahead and cut this part here. There's no dart in this, because most times this type of halter neck with rope passing through the casing, the rope helps to pull it and give you like fitting. Once you draw the drawstring at the neckline, it's going to pull this part, so there will be no need for any dart at this side here, right? There will be no need for giving it a dart here or giving it a dart at the end here, because the drawstring at the waist will help pull the waist together. The drawstring passing through this neckline will help pull the neckline together. So there will be no need for all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out what my pattern will look like. So guys, this is going to be our So you see, now that I've cut this out, you see what our pattern looks like. So this is it here. So this will join to the pants here, and then once you put the drawstring, it will pull it in at the waist. So I don't know if you guys can already imagine it. So to cut the back of your pattern, the back of this top here, all you have to do is to cut exactly the same thing, except this time around the back is going to be longer by 1 inch, which is going to serve like a zip allowance, but it's not going to be zip. I'm going to tell you guys why. Because the rope that will pass through the neckline needs somewhere to be tied to, right? So it's going to be tied at the center back of this top. So you understand what I'm saying? The rope that will pass through your neckline is going to meet at the center, like where your zip normally comes in. So the rope is going to pass from the 2 loops of the front coming towards your back, and once it gets to your back, it's now going to drop at the. So this is the back panel here. So when you cut out your back panel, it will look something like this. You see where my zip allowance is somewhere here. It's supposed to be like the zip. That's what I'm saying. You have to have extra 1 inch, but every other thing is the same. The casing for the loop is the same. Everything is the same, except you're going to extend the back at the center by 1 inch, which means you're going to have 2 panels at your back and 1 panel in front. The front panel is going to be cut on a fold like this, but the back panel is going to be cut so that it will have extra 1 inch at the center, and it's going to be 2 patterns. So that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and cut mine out on a smaller fabric and show you guys. I've cut out my pants here, 2 pieces of it here. So there's 4, 2 pieces for the front and then 2 pieces for the back. You see? So then I also have my front bodies. There are 2 of them. 1 for the front and then 2 for the back. 2 pieces for the back here. And then the back panel here, it has that extra 1 inch I was talking about. So you see, it has that distance of 1 inch from the center of the front panel. So all you have to do now is to take your front panel this way. So you see, if I fold it now, you see my casing is folded away. So this is going to be the length of my top. My casing is folded away, but before I fold my casing, all I have to do is to first go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take my back panel this way, fold it, join the center back, but I'm going to stop about, like if I fold away my neckline, I'm going to stop 5 inches before that. That's if I remove the neckline, 5 inches before that. So I'm going to close it and stop somewhere here. So stop somewhere here. I'm saying on a bigger on your own fabric, you might want to, like if you remove the part that will be folded, make sure that you have extra still 6 inches before where your seam is. So I'm going to go back now and close up that 1 inch that I left. So I'm going to make a seam like this all the way down, and then after that I'm going to use bias to finish up the 2 sides, and then also finish up the sides in front, and then I'm going to show you guys the next thing to do. So guys, you see my back panel, this is what it looks like here. I've joined, like I said before, I joined it coming up and then stopped somewhere here, and then whatever that was left at the top here, I just folded it this way just to give it like a finishing here. So this is going to be around the neckline. So all I have to do is just to fold this casing this way and then fold the second casing this way, right? So now I'm going to have this opening here, and then I'm also going to fold the front casing on its own too, so that when I pass my rope, I'm going to start from one side of the opening at the back, come out at the openings here, go into the one in front, come out here, and then come in through this one, come out here. So my 2 ropes will now drop at the center back. So that's what it's going to look like. You see, I've joined the 2 side seam, and you see it's almost like it's going a line this way. So now all I have to do is to also join my pants together and join the 2 patterns together here. So you see how I joined it to the pant. The pant is facing the right side, then I put the top on it, so you see, and then I sewed it all the way around. So you see my stitch here all the way around. So after that, now the next thing I did is to cut out 2 inches of width of strap. So these 2 inches now, I started from the back. You see, I started from the back one side here, I sewed it all the way around, and I got to the other side, and you see I made sure to give it a clean finish because I just folded the end of the cloth this way, just like that. And then what I'm going to do now is this here is going to be my casing for my rope. So you see, then I'm going to also pull my pants, pull this up so that you guys can see. So now what I have to do is this casing now, all I have to do is this casing will help me hide the waist, the seam at the waist of the pant. So all I have to do, you see my waist, the seam here at the waist, all I have to do now is this casing, I'm going to take it this way and place it on top of the pant, right? I'm going to be sewing it on the pant, so I'm going to sew it all the way around to the other end. And then after that, I already made my rope for the neckline of the top, and then the longer one is going to be for the waist of the pant. So after that, I'm going to be passing the rope at the waist of the pant, but it's going to come out in front of this here. So I'm going to go out and sew my casing, and then I'll come back and show you guys how you're going to make the opening in front for the pant. So guys, as you can see, I've gone ahead and folded the band. So you see, I folded it all the way facing towards the pant. So now the next thing I did is in front of the pant. So this is the front bodice here, the front of the jumpsuit. I opened up the seam, you know, that center seam that is holding the pant, but make sure that before you do that, you're going to stitch and holding the lower stitch that is holding this band, the lower stitch that is holding this casing. Make sure that when you get in front of this part here, you double stitch it, so that once you open up this part here, it doesn't, this part doesn't get loose. So after that, you're going to take your rope, and then you're going to take it and pass it through round your pant. If you want, the same time you're passing the rope, you can use also a smaller elastic too and pass it, so that you know that you have elastic at the waist and you also have a band, a rope at the waist, so that it's not all the time that you want to tie the rope too tight, so that you know that your elastic can also serve at the same time. So you can take a small elastic and just hold it down the same time you're holding down this cloth, and then pass the two of them together. When they both come out at the end, you just sew your elastic close and then tuck it in, but then you leave your drawstring to come out. So guys, this is it here. I've passed the one rope at the waist, one at the neckline. So you see what the neckline looks like. So when you tie it here, it's going to come out at the center back. So you see where the center back is. You're supposed to drape down at the center back here. So this is the back of the jumpsuit. You're supposed to have this here at the neck, your rope, and then in front it's going to look like this. So you're going to pull this when you're wearing it. You pull it a little bit. So this is it here, and then this is the sleeve here, and then this is the waist. So use elastic that you feel that is exactly your waist measurement. So the rope, but I would advise to put elastic also inside of it. It will help pull it together more. So that's basically it for this tutorial. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.